começam a pilotagem, até os mais experientes, de forma diferente. Ambas oferecem muito mais do que uma simples engenharia avançada que se baseia na crescente popularidade do mercado do motociclismo moderno, tem influência clássica, e que as nossas motocicletas sempre tiveram como alicerce há décadas. Embora elas sejam semelhantes na sua essência, quadro, motor, elas trazem uma experiência de pilotagem extremamente diferentes. E vocês são os primeiros aqui no Brasil a sentir essa diferença ao pilotar as duas motocicletas. A Continental GT 650 cilindradas, ela especialmente agrada os pilotos que gostam dos modelos mais esportivos. É perfeita para atingir velocidades mais altas em estradas sinuosas, uma ergonomia que permite que ela também seja utilizada no urbano ou também no circuito em rodovias. A Interceptor 650 cilindradas, ela remete a um modelo histórico, como já disse, do mesmo nome, que tem uma tocada mais confortável e imponente, com uma posição de pilotagem que torna o modelo bastante divertido e prático, em todos os tipos de caminho, quer sejam em curvas, estradas costeiras, como vocês vão pegar amanhã, ou mesmo dentro das grandes cidades. A gente chama elas de bicilíndricas ou twins, elas são idealizadas e produzidas em conjunto pelas equipes de desenvolvimento do produto da Royal Enfield na Índia, onde nós temos um novo centro tecnológico State of the Art recém-inaugurado, assim como também no UK Tech Center, UKTC, que vocês já devem ter ouvido falar, lá na Inglaterra, que foi inaugurado em 2017. Eu queria destacar um aspecto bem interessante nessas motocicletas, que a gente sempre inspira no passado para a gente desenhar os nossos modelos, mas a nossa ideia é sempre olhar o presente, como o Mr. Vinod comentou, para exatamente entender o que as pessoas pensam quando querem uma motocicleta, o que elas pedem. Então, nós, como montadora, vamos estar muito atentos ao que o brasileiro pede para produzir um renascimento como esse. Uma moto com tradição, com história e renasce. Então, para mostrar um pouco mais sobre esse renascimento, quero passar um vídeo para vocês, rapidinho, das
So Royal Enfield is all about authenticity. All the products we create are authentic and honest in what they do. The Twin has been something that the company has been talking about for an awful long time.
For us, this new project, the 650 Twin, has been an absolute dream for years, maybe even over a decade.
And so once the decision was made to go to Twin, we started looking at what can we draw inspiration from in our past, what are people asking for in the market today.
The classic 350 and the motorcycle before that, they have a thumb which is so identifiable and so close to people's hearts. But that wasn't the idea. You don't replicate a single in a Twin. You do what's right for the Twin.
We knew that people really liked the sound of the singles and the feeling of torque and low RPM, very flexible power delivery. So those are qualities that we then said, okay, these are what we really want to highlight as developmental objectives for the Twin.
Earlier in the project, we built 3 prototype engines and we tried all 3 to see how they compare to each other. And everybody felt that the 270-degree crank gave the most character.
The general configuration of the engine was targeted to still give some of that typical Royal Enfield character.
More powerful engine in Royal Enfield, and it has a 270-degree firing angle, so it has a distinct beat.
Yeah, the first time I heard the 650, I was really impressed.
So yeah, the 650 Twin of course has an absolutely special and unique sound, but I wouldn't call it a thump as much as a rumble.
By focusing on the torque, got a nice broad spread of power that allows you to, from very low in the RPM range, kind of,
The air-cooled engine just seemed the right thing to do. It's just right, you just look at it, it's not cluttered with water hoses and water pumps. We didn't have to worry about trying to hide expansion tanks and all of that stuff, and it just makes the bike purer. It makes the bike just look and feel more correct. Put that in design brief. That's what we wrote, make it more correct.
It's
sake of that alone,
Bem legal esse vídeo. Depois até vou ver com calma. Vocês também, ó. Eu indico que vocês vejam com calma depois.
I think people are going to be quite surprised actually. I don't think people expect that from Royal Enfield. And I think something with this extra go, this extra agility and nimbleness, I think that's going to surprise people. I think it's going to kind of really announce the continuation of that renaissance.
Assim fica fácil falar das Twins, né? Obrigado. Assim fica fácil fazer das Twins, né? Mostrar um vídeo, mostrar as motos, mostrar as pessoas falando, pessoas que estiveram diretamente envolvidas. Vamos um pouco além. Vamos chamar o Mark Wells, que é o cara que projetou essas motos, para falar sobre essas motos. Mark, please, come. Ele é quem projetou as motos.
Obrigado. One word,
Boa tarde.
two ahead of me. So yeah, I'll introduce myself. I'm head of product strategy and production design at Royal Enfield, which means that my team are responsible for the writing design briefs for the products and defining the vehicle attributes, and then also creating the concepts and defining how they look and feel. And today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how the new twins came about and a bit about the history. So we'll start with where the inspiration came for these models came from, and then we'll go on to talk a bit more about the products in themselves. So the 500 twin, the spiritual origins of our 650s can be traced back to Royal Enfield's original 500 twin, which made its debut back in 1948. And it became the foundation for a long line of twin-cylinder motorcycles from Royal Enfield. It was, when it was unveiled, it owed more to the company's singles than it did to any of the competition twins that were in the market. So you can see, essentially it was a 500cc engine in a Bullock 350 frame. This was a revolutionary frame at the time. It was the first frame ever to have a articulating swinging arm on the back. And the designer, a chap called Tony Wilson-Jones, incorporated many of his own ideas into the engine. And it featured separate heads and barrel, had a full flow oil filter, it had a sort of semi-unit construction gearbox bolted onto the back. It had extensive use of aluminium alloy, both in the engine itself, cylinder heads, primary cases, and then lately in hubs and forks, and in the nacelle or casquette that became very obviously iconic for Royal Enfield. When they came to name it, I think they just had a bit of a day off and they said, what should we call it? 500 Twin sounds good, so that's what it got called. So the motorcycle went on to be used in competition. The Royal Enfield factory team boasted some of the best riders at the time, including Vic and Johnny Britton, father and son outfit. Johnny Britton was one of the greatest all-time trials riders, Jack Stoke, Stan Home, and they dominated the result sheets at the international 6-day trials competitions and also in other motorsport events. And they did that also, not only with the 350 Bullocks, but also with the 500 Twin. In 1951, they cleared up gold medals in all the events.
A Royal Enfield produz motocicletas desde 1901, continuamente. É a marca mais antiga em produção contínua, né?
By 90mm dimensions of the 500 Twins crankcases, the 350 with the 500 Twins crankcases, to create the 36 horsepower 693cc Meteor. And at the time they were Britain's biggest parallel twins. Then later in 1955 the Super Meteor was introduced, and that had increased the power output to 40 brake horsepower. And that gave Royal Enfield for the first time a motorcycle with a potential of 100 miles an hour. And to handle that extra power, there were several elements in the bike that had been beefed up, so the crankshaft, the cylinder heads, the frame. And then in spring 1958, an even hotter bike, the Constellation, was introduced. The bike that you can see on the screen there now. This 51 brake had two carburetors, lighter camshafts. And for the first time, Royal Enfield had a motorcycle that was genuinely competitive. Getting the lap record here, you can see the photo, getting the lap record in the famous Stockton 9-hour endurance race. During this period, youngsters watching racing were inspired by these bikes and wanted similar bikes, and this brought about the cafe racing movement. Young riders of these machines wanted to go fast, so they would take chassis and engines and then combine them and build their own sporting motorcycles. And the goal of many of these cafe races, and the bikes and the people were known as cafe racers, was to hit the ton, was to hit 100 miles an hour, which was known colloquially as the ton. And so they would hang around, they were called cafe races because they would hang around the coffee bars and would famously race between them. There's a famous story where they would put a coin in the jukebox and then try and race out to a point and back again before the record would finish. And the style of the riders and the bikes became influential for motorcycling culture the world over, and still influenced it today. They're kind of stripped down, tuned up bikes that were made to sort of mimic the race bikes at the time. So, they had this very aggressive stance, this horizontal line that runs through them, clip-on bars that allow the rider to get tucked in and low down, rear set foot pegs to allow them to get their feet up and high, upswept exhaust, single seats, and they became iconically connected to British motorcycles at the time.
Esse é outro vídeo que vale a pena depois voltar e assistir novamente com calma.
Then spread around the world and became popular in Europe, in North America, and other markets all over the world. London's Ace Cafe, famously, along with one particular Royal Enfield motorcycle, Constellation, did for British cafe racers of the 1960s what Marlon Brando did for American bikers in the 1950s. Together they made cafe racers notorious and iconic and envied. And this Royal Enfield, this WL 7980 is still on display at the Ace Cafe. And there you can see it, the young rider coming out of the front of this sensational Daily Mirror headline, basically denoting the youngsters that were. And in this, and became the first factory to make a factory cafe racer, the GT250. They talked to the youngsters on the shop floor, the apprentices, and they asked them what would be called on a bike, and they told them what they wanted. They wanted the racing style tank, the clip-on bars. They wanted the same look and feel as the Grand Prix machines at the time. At the same time, 1950s and 1960s America also had a profound effect on motorcycling trends. So you had the whole hippies and outlaws and desert racers and flat trackers, all influencing motorcycling, and today still echoing through and influencing motorcycling culture today. And so in 1960, Royal Enfield introduced a new motorcycle that was designed specifically for the American market, seeing the opportunity. Post-war, Europe was still dealing with austerity. America had money, it had youngsters, it had youth and excitement, and they wanted bigger, faster, more exciting motorcycles. So Royal Enfield introduced a new motorcycle bearing the name Interceptor for the first time, and it was a revised version of the Constellation. It was first a 700cc and then a 750. And these consumers were more leisure-oriented and less utility or at least road race biased than their domestic British counterparts. And the American importers understood that and knew how to market to them. We've seen some of the advertising. And instead, as I say, instead of as was typically the case in Britain and Europe at the time, where motorcycles were seen as a substitute for four-wheel transport, or the next step on the run to four-wheel transport. In North America, they were seen as something on their own right, and they were they were offered as, they offered an image of weekend fun and excitement, and that was how they were sold. And nowhere was this trend more apparent on the West Coast and California in particular. I think there was one particular importer that really linked onto this and understood this movement and sold bikes specifically for that market. And the Interceptor just fit perfectly into that narrative at the time. It was, it was perfect for the amateur and professional rider alike, both on road and off. Competing in multiple competitions. Famously, Royal Enfield won the Big Bear race in California, a race where a bunch of people just turned up and raced across the desert for miles and miles. At the beginning of 1970, the US importer, a chap called Floyd Clymer, commissioned a special bike to cater for these consumers. And this was the Clymer Interceptor, which was a 750. It had a special frame that was engineered by Italjet in Italy. It was really quite a special looking thing. Only a few of these were made, only a handful of these were made before Floyd Clymer died, unfortunately, and the project never continued. But it's become a bit of an icon in motorcycling folklore. And then finally, Royal Enfield in 1970 started a project to produce the Series 3 to replace the Series 2 Interceptor. And the bore was enlarged to an 800cc, but unfortunately it never made production before the company in the UK ceased making motorcycles. And so that was, up until that point, the end of the twin story for Royal Enfield. Until 2017, when we saw the birth of our all-new 650 twin GT and Interceptor. Hopefully, I think already starting an illustrious new chapter for these motorcycles. I asked Royal Enfield Brazil to organise me some attractive-looking models to come and demonstrate some of the different characteristics between the two bikes. So apparently, the best I could find was Clever and Ricardo. So if they'd like to come up onto the stage.
Let's try.
And jump on a bike each. So here we've got the GT and the Interceptor share many component parts. They have common components across a lot of the motorcycle. But we were really keen to create two bikes that really felt like they had two different personalities. With the GT, we wanted to capture that authentic cafe racer feel, so a more committed riding position with the clip-on style handlebars, the move-back footrests, the cafe racer style tank. All of that helps to push the rider's weight just a little bit more over the front end, makes it a little bit more engaging, encourages you to find the twisty roads. With the Interceptor, our goal was to create a fun, easy, versatile, but still sporty roadster. The more upright riding position, the higher wide bars, gives a more relaxed attitude, and the Interceptor has a great, fun, and easy to ride. It gives you very much a confidence-inspiring feel that's very rewarding for both novice riders.
Está falando da diferença de posicionamento das duas, né? Na Interceptor você anda em pé e na Continental GT a posição mais esportiva, né? Vamos ver a parte técnica, suspensão.
So just to give you a couple of examples of this, you can see here this image across the bottom, the detail in the RSU. We redesigned the top forging. You can see here we looked at 10 or 11 different options of design for that, trying to make sure that was exactly right. And then we carried that through, so the design language of the forging here is exactly the same as it is on the clip-on. So you can see there's a consistency of design, a consistency of finish through all the modes. We spent a lot of time looking at some of those
Estou falando da diferença de design e que eles desenvolveram diversas até chegar à posição ideal. Se vocês perceberem as pequenas diferenças entre um e outro, mas a diferença no comportamento da moto. Vem bastante opções de cores, se eu não me engano são 6 opções da Interceptor.
We have classic colorways,
Tá aí as cores.
which are more like the bikes you would have found back in the 60s and 70s.
Com isso tem diferença de preço também.
Metal finishes and aluminium finishes. And then we took inspiration from the custom scene that exists today. So places like Wheels and Waves or Blendset or some of the other big custom festivals that happen, we see lots of bikes and we took inspiration from those. And so we also have a
Os preços são 25.000 ou 26.000, 24.990, 25.990. As bicolor e a prateada são as mais caras.
Both classic colorways and contemporary colorways, hopefully increasing the appeal and making the bikes appeal to a wider demographic. A little story about the names. We get asked about the names a lot, so where did the names come from? They were, and you'll see the gentleman talking on the video, a colleague of mine. We needed some names internally. We kept calling it the orange one and the blue one. And so, almost as a joke one day, he wrote down a bunch of random names. And these were the names, and some of them are based on people from the team. So, Baker Express, there was a chap called Mike Baker on the team. Ravishing Red, there was a chap called Ravi on the team. And initially it was just a thing that we used internally.
Para Interceptor eu gosto da branca com vermelho e da Continental GT eu gosto da que tem a lista em cima, escrito Royal Enfield, preta com dourado.
And yeah,
A preta com cinza e amarelo também é legal.
A footnote to that, which is kind of bittersweet. Paul, the chap that came up with that, sadly passed away in a motorcycle accident, and so we changed the name Scenic to Ventura Blue in Paul's honour. And something I'm eternally grateful to the company for doing. So moving on, the chassis. So right from the outset, we had targets for the chassis for both the GT and the Interceptor. We really wanted these bikes to be, and I hope you'll find this tomorrow when you ride them, we wanted them to be agile, we wanted them to be nimble, engaging, and most of all, they wanted to be accessible and fun. They wanted to be, easy to ride. You wanted to be able to brake in the corner and not worry about it. And I think they deliver that fully. Whilst they look a little bit like our old, certainly GT650 looks a little
Chassi
bit
é quase
like
nada, né?
GT535.
O motor vai dentro.
This is all new chassis. We did start out with the intent of trying to carry over more parts, but as we got deeper and deeper into the project, we realised that actually we would only end up with a handful of carryover parts. We start the chassis development of any project with an adjustable mule bike, so we have a bike where we can adjust all the components. We can adjust the headstock and the swinging arm pivot, the fork offset, the fork width, and we can effectively change the geometry of the motorcycle into any way we want. And that then starts a process of working with very experienced chassis development riders, giving their feedback, doing miles and miles of testing on tracks in the UK, Spain and India, and making fine adjustments and refining the design as they go along. The suspension for both of these
Testaram muito ao longo de muitos meses até chegar ao desenho ideal.
To meet our requirements for both handling and comfort. Both bikes have 18-inch XL rims. We were very keen to go with 18-inch rims to maintain that classic look, but that gave our chassis development team some difficulties because there's not an abundance of tyres available. So we actually worked with Pirelli to develop bespoke Phantom Sport Comp tyres specifically for both these motorcycles. On braking, we work really closely with Bosch and Brembo. So Bybree is by Brembo, the arm of Brembo's braking company. We work jointly with those to develop the ABS tune on both. Again, the focus was on performance and usability. And we really tried hard to get brake modulation as nice as possible, so that's the feel that you get when you pull the lever. These bikes have been tested over hundreds and thousands of miles on roads in, as I say, Europe and India. They've done miles of track endurance, which is just a racer going around and around and around the track at 10/10. Pavé, which is very rough, cobbled roads that shake the motorcycle and the rider. Our riders can only do a small amount of it at a time because it's so aggressive, but it sets up fatigue on the motorcycle, and you see where there are problems and then fix them. and bench tests. We do lots and lots of bench tests. Motorcycles do hundreds of hours of endurance testing on bench tests and dynos. And all of this, this testing gives us the confidence to offer a 3-year warranty with both of these motorcycles. So we've got a short video just to play you now about testing, and then I'll talk a bit about the engine. So if you'd just like to run the video.
So at Royal Enfield, we try not to do too much. We try and do a few things, but we want to do them exceptionally well. We're not about super fast motorcycles, we're not about heavy cruisers, we're not about a lot of things. We're about simple, old school, great fun motorcycles. And for us, this new project, the 650 Twin, has been an absolute dream for years, maybe even over a decade.
So these are Royal Enfield's first twin-cylinder motorcycles in a very long time. The GT 650 Twin and the Interceptor 650 Twin that has a true highway capability, exciting handling.
So we wanted to create something that was agile and nimble and quick steering and have fun. You know,
Sei ele que
really
está
fun,
falando
really
aqui.
great fun to throw around.
It's a difficult question to answer from an engineering perspective. Trying to interpret what product strategy you see as fun, then that is quite a big challenge because it's an all-encompassing word. You know, this is a bit of a first for Royal Enfield as a company, and it has to have that Royal Enfield character, be a little bit different.
So the Interceptor has a more upright ride position. It's more like a roadster style. And the GT is an authentic cafe racer, so it's got kind of that more tucked in and leaned over riding position.
Yeah, so we put a lot of time and energy in making sure that this is a very accessible motorcycle.
It's a step change, isn't it, in terms of performance for Royal Enfields in the modern era, and we need to make sure that we give them that level of performance, but it's not too intimidating and it's approachable.
These bikes have to work all around the world in every market. So the way somebody rides a motorcycle in the UK and India is very, very different.
We've got people from Japan, from Europe, we've got experts from around the world who are working at Royal Enfield now.
And there's a frequent data sharing which happens on almost daily basis.
We take all those inputs and have to try and create all that into one single motorcycle.
We've had an extended development program for these motorcycles.
It's been a big project, and it's gone through many stages.
They are iterative changes that you go through step by step. The bike becomes more production representative.
I think the biggest challenge for us was developing the motorcycle to meet the performance and quality levels that we wanted to achieve.
And we're testing those well over 1 million kilometers and hundreds of motorcycles on roads, on test rigs, in park rigs.
We test it indoors, we test it outdoors, and ensure that bike is fit and it gives a customer delight.
Yeah, there are some good step changes along the way.
One of the best parts about the job is you get to go out there and try and break everything. Try and make it do something wrong, so then you've got something to improve.
That's the sort of experience we go to. It covers all bases of rider level and experience.
The standout part is the chassis is just a really nice, fun motorcycle to ride.
They're powerful, they handle, they perform beautifully, but they're also very accessible, very easy.
This is absolutely the most fun motorcycle in the entire world, and I've been riding them a lot.
To make a motorcycle, you know, go around a corner and put a smile on your face, you know, that is something that you can do to them to perspective, you can make it handle well, make it feel good, make it have good feedback from the road, and that generally as a rider, puts a smile on your face. I think this bike is a great fun bike to ride.
So I'm clicking the button, but it's not changing. anybody can make the
Estamos
screen
falando
change,
de
that'd be
freio.
great.
Oh,
There we go.
isso é
Okay,
interessante,
so
ó.
we're now going to talk about the all-new 650 engine. So this is
80%
our
do torque é
air-cooled
apenas
parallel twin. It's
2.400
the first
V.
parallel twin, as I said, to be produced since 1971 and is a completely ground-up design. It develops 47 brake horsepower, 52 Newton meters of torque, and it does that at 80% of the torque is developed from 2,500 RPM. So you can see the curve here. What that means is it's really tractable. It gives you lots of opportunity. You can be in any gear, you can pull out of any corner. We recently rode down to Curitiba, there we go, and came back on the Serpent's Tail Road. And the bike was just fantastic through there, through the bends there. The way the power was delivered was just brilliant. So why did we go for an air-cooled engine? Really, it was about authenticity. We wanted an engine that looked and felt right. We didn't want all the clutter of water pumps and hoses and radiators and the extra cost and weight that comes with that. And we wanted to make a proper air-cooled engine. We didn't want to make an air-cooled engine or a water-cooled engine that was pretending to be an air-cooled engine. So it's about history and style and authenticity and character and simplicity. And character was really important to this engine. It's fully BS6 compliant already, Euro 4, and is Euro 5 protected, so this power plant will have a long future. Whilst the engine looks classical, this is actually a modern parallel twin with hundreds of hours of testing that we just talked about. It has a 270-degree crank. We tried a number of different crank configurations at the beginning of testing. We tried we had a 180, a 360 and a 270, and we unanimously agreed that the 270 gave that character, that burble, the noise that we wanted. It also helps to reduce some secondary vibrations. It cancels out the buzz that you get at the handlebar. On top of that, it has a balancer shaft. You can see it at the front here of the engine, and that basically cancels out all the primary vibrations. So what you end up with is a really smooth, silky smooth engine that you know is just a pleasure to ride. It's an overhead camshaft with a centre drive and 4 valves per cylinder. We worked very hard on the EMS system on this motorcycle, so we actually brought in some specialists into the company, a colleague of mine, Takashi from Japan, and I think this has absolutely class-leading calibration. There are no holes in the mapping at all. It's really good. It's got a slip assist clutch. You have to set it with your teeth in, and that gives light clutch changes. So when you change, it feels light to change gear. It also helps with aggressive downshift. So you know, in World Superbikes, for example, it's used on bikes to help avoid wheel hop. So when you're changing down really hard, it stops the wheel skipping out. I don't expect many of our customers are going to be experiencing that, but it helps with that as well. It's got a 6-speed box, and as I say, it really is a fantastic fun engine to ride. I think it really is a gem of an engine. I talked a little bit about quality in the video there. So how are we so confident about the quality on this? Well, for this project, we implemented a new procedure, a new NPI, which stands for New Product Introduction Process. And in this, we entombed the idea really early on in the process. So a long time before we start making or selling the motorcycles, we're making component parts off process, off tool, and at conveyor line speed. So what I mean by that is if we take the fuel tank, the tool that smashes the two halves of the tank shapes out of sheet metal is a production tool, and we try and get to that production tool as quickly as we can. The process, the person combining the parts together, again, we try and do that. And that means that we're testing that, and we're doing that a good 12 to 18 months before the start of production. We also introduced SRK, which is Shikuri Raido Cannery, which is a process of testing the motorcycle, 200% test at the beginning of production to bring down any faults that we see in production as early and as quickly as possible. So, you know, we can be really sure about the quality of this motorcycle, and it gives us the confidence to offer that 3-year warranty. And then finally, to wrap up, we have a full suite of what we call GMA, genuine motorcycle accessories. So this is, I think there's 40 accessories available for these motorcycles, and all of those parts are designed at the time the motorcycle is designed and are tested as part of the validation testing process. So we can have the same confidence level with the GMA parts as we can with the motorcycle. So to give the customers a complete peace of mind. So that wraps up my presentation. I don't know, are there any questions at all? Or no? Okay.
Mark, just a minute. Mr. Vinod would like to thanks, and because he has to go, he is taking the flight now.
So, thank you very much. We look forward to seeing you.
So the idea now is Mark will talk to you if you have any questions before we proceed. But no, if you have a question, so
Yes.
Vamos terminar primeiro, Suzane. Deixa eu falar rapidinho.
tá.
Do you have anything else to say?
No,
Okay. So let's move to my yes. Eu vou só terminar então rapidamente, passar um vídeo e eu quero que o Mark stay on the stage with me because we'll answer the questions. Okay? Bom, então com a chegada das Twins aqui para o Brasil, as 650 cilindradas, a gente vai ter um incremento bastante importante no nosso portfólio, como vocês podem perceber pelos vídeos que vocês têm visto, que vocês já têm lido. E a gente acredita que esses modelos serão fundamentais para o crescimento do segmento da média cilindrada, que é o nosso principal ponto estratégico no Brasil. E apenas para lembrar, tudo isso que vocês viram, toda essa explicação que ele deu, tudo isso por R$ 24.990. Esse é o preço dessa moto que a gente chama de Standard, que são as cores básicas para o Interceptor 650. Já a Continental GT 650, a cor Standard parte de R$ 25.990. E já para as cores que a gente chama Custom e as Special Colors, a gente já tem um preço de R$ 25.990 para o Interceptor 650. R$ 1.000 a mais, R$ 26.990 para a Interceptor 650. O salão das rodas é o preço para a pré-venda e é o preço que as concessionárias passam a vender a partir desta sexta-feira, depois que vocês terminarem o live, que eu faço questão de com vocês. Só para pensar nas últimas cores, que são as Special, que eu não falei, para a Continental GT 650 vai ser R$ 26.990 e R$ 27.990 se dobra sem frete, tá? Esses modelos já estão disponíveis hoje na concessionária, mas ninguém pode pilotar, as motos estão gravadas pelo BIM, então só para display estático. Mas a partir de sexta e sábado, os concessionários vão começar a prover os test rides também nas concessionárias para quem tiver interessado. É o momento ideal, porque a gente está no momento de expansão na companhia, vocês ouviram o Vinod sem pressão nenhuma, mas vamos vender, né? E para esse ano a gente espera, o ano fiscal que vem, ter mais 7 lojas que a gente vai espalhar também para atender a questão que vocês bem colocaram de atendimento do pós-vendas, tá? Bom, antes de encerrar então essa coletiva, eu só vou passar mais um vídeo rapidinho, eu e o Marco ficamos aqui em cima e estaremos abertos à sessão de perguntas e respostas. Então o vídeo, e por favor, vamos. da nossa campanha de lançamento, que é o vídeo oficial que a gente vai começar a partir de agora, divulgar nas redes sociais e tudo mais. Perguntas que vocês queiram fazer, agora feel free. Suzane, por favor.
Oi.
Inglês, português, o que você quiser.
What was need to change on the engine to adapt to the fuel, Brazilian fuel?
It's a good question, well put. So, with the engine team have worked to meet that. I think we've changed something on the fuel filters, I believe. I don't know the answer, honestly. I will come back to you and give you the correct answer. So I'll find out exactly what's changed and come back and give you an answer.
Ok.
Oi. Minha curiosidade é ver muito bom, Gisele Flores sobre motos. Tudo bom? Então, eu queria saber com relação ao Sul, qual é a perspectiva? Você falou que tinham 7 novas lojas. Estou me perguntando aqui como fica Porto Alegre, Florianópolis, porque já estou me perguntando aqui quando chega em Porto Alegre e quando chega em Florianópolis.
Ficamos felizes que temos clientes aí já ansiosos, né? Respondendo bem claro, Florianópolis está para as próximas semanas, estou para dizer que até fevereiro a gente consegue abrir a loja, já tem um concessionário definido, o ponto já está em reforma, ou seja, questão de semanas. Porto Alegre é uma praça muito importante e a gente com certeza vai abrir esse ano.
Porque eu conheço algumas pessoas que elas já estão em contato com vocês, por isso que e esse processo é um pouquinho demorado, né? Então, por isso...
Quem vai ser o concessionário em Florianópolis vai ser bom para você, porque ele está aqui.
Gostaria de conhecer.
Pois então você vai conhecer ali, ó.
Legal.
Esse é o concessionário em Florianópolis.
Show.
Já é concessionário, só falta abrir a loja.
E eu posso perguntar, vai ser na BR ou vai ser...
Vai ser mais de Capoeiras.
Capoeiras. Legal. Então já temos uma resposta.
Gostou da resposta? Obrigado pela pergunta.
Vê se vocês têm mais alguma pergunta para fazer.
Yes, here.
Hello.
Why opt by 650 and not by 700? 700 not would be more classic and more authentic, back to past.
Okay, so there's a couple of answers to that. One is that we were very keen that this was an accessible upgrade from our 500cc. So we actually started the project as a 600cc, and when we weren't achieving quite the performance targets that we wanted, raise the capacity to 650. But it was really important for us that it was a step up from our 500cc. We know we've got around the world literally millions now of consumers that have bought both our 350 and our 500, and we didn't want it to seem like a big step up from the 500. On top of that, we had a target, a performance target. We wanted to be able to comfortably do 100 miles an hour, and we could do that with a 650. And we were really keen that we didn't partake in the arms race, the capacity arms race that seems to exist. You know, we think there's a gap in that mid space, in that middleweight market today that nobody else is playing in. And so for us, 650 was just the sweet spot. It was the right place to be. Thank you.
Ninguém mais quer perguntar, né?
Boa tarde. Queria saber o mix aí entre Interceptor e Continental, se vão trazer meio a meio, por favor. Os concessionários vão fazer test drive a partir do final de semana. Quando os consumidores começam a receber as motos, por favor, se eles comprarem?
Pode vir aqui, Josias Silveira, Marcinho.
Não é nem uma achismo, né? Como você sabe, a gente divulgou essas motos no salão Duas Rodas e a partir daí criamos uma pré-venda. O que nos deixou bastante satisfeitos, porque mais de 500 pessoas se interessaram realmente pela motocicleta, e 55 realmente fizeram pedido e compraram a motocicleta, mesmo sem andar na motocicleta, porque não estavam disponíveis para pilotagem mesmo no salão. Foi exatamente 71 e 29. 71% das pessoas que se interessaram através da pré-venda gostaram do design clássico da Interceptor e da forma de pilotagem que o Marco bem explicou. Puderam montar na moto também, inclusive lá no salão. E 29% gostaram da Interceptor, que tem a pilotagem um pouco mais esportiva, tem a pilotagem Café Racer, como ele bem falou. Continental GT, desculpa, Interceptor e Continental GT. Muito obrigado. Respondendo a segunda pergunta, eu estava ansioso pensando na segunda, já que é excelente. Essas motos já estão nas concessionárias, só que elas foram enviadas para atender a pré-venda. Então, aqueles que se adiantaram, fizeram pedido ou já deram sinal, esses serão os primeiros a serem atendidos, essas motos já estão lá. Apenas para display estático, não tem moto ainda para test ride. Respondendo a sua pergunta, a venda vai estar liberada, inclusive, para quem já fez a pré-compra. A partir de amanhã já está liberada a pré-venda. E para quem quiser fazer um test ride, sexta-feira, sábado, mais tardar, apesar do feriado de São Paulo, a ideia é que essas concessionárias estejam com motos para ser pronta, não talvez para pronta entrega, porque a gente está vendo uma fila de espera bem interessante, até superando um pouco as nossas expectativas, porque é um mercado restrito, vocês sabem os concorrentes, vocês sabem o que hoje o Brasil trabalha com essas motos, em termos de volume, mas superou todas as expectativas. Então, as respostas sábado, a gente tem venda normal, o mundo que segue, depois da pilotagem de vocês.
Você espera que ela supere a Himalaia, que hoje é o carro-chefe da companhia?
Caraca, que pergunta difícil, né? A pergunta dele foi mais fácil, porque eu já tinha a resposta do mercado. Como o Vinod falou, a gente é muito responsivo ao mercado, né? A gente percebe o que o cliente espera, o que a gente quer. Quando a gente pensou em lançar a Himalaia, um ano atrás, foi exatamente no dia 23 de janeiro, que eu estava com muitos de vocês aqui, ali em São Paulo, depois a gente foi para o interior de São Paulo, exatamente há um ano, a gente tinha uma expectativa de que as vendas da Himalaia iam ser legais. Cara, de 1.330 motos emplacadas que nós tivemos só nesse ano 19 que passou, 805 foram Himalaias. Então, foi estrondoso sucesso, estrondoso como o mercado brasileiro, o cliente brasileiro gosta de produto. Por isso que eu estou com o Mark aqui, para ouvir cada um dos concessionários, para entender o que falta na linha da Royal Enfield. Eu acho que não. Eu acho que o mercado de trails que a gente tem no Brasil, né, dizendo um pouco sobre análise de mercado, é muito maior do que o mercado para esse tipo de motocicleta, né? A gente tem a questão também que a Royal Enfield sempre trabalha muito, que é a acessibilidade. Nós estamos comparando um produto de R$18.900 com um produto de R$24.900, que faz uma certa diferença. Então a resposta é, eu acredito que a Himalaia continua sendo, por tudo que a gente espera de evolução do produto eu não posso falar, mas vai ser com certeza em 2020 o nosso carro-chefe. Suspende.
Aqui.
Peraí, calma que o Guilherme está com o microfone agora, né? Vai lá, Guilherme. O Guilherme é relax, mas nem tanto. Fala aí, Guilherme.
É a pergunta mais difícil ainda, tá?
Just to keep you updated, they were talking about the availability of the motorcycles when they will be ready to be sold, and then customers may buy them. And then I told the difference between the motorcycles, the 1720, 7125 mix among them. And he's telling me, do you think that these motorcycles, they have the potential to sell more than the Himalayan as well? And talking about the market, we see that the market for the trails are much bigger than the market for this one. So I think that the Himalayan continues being the best seller in this one. Just this. But we may surprise. We'll see.
I put my money in the Interceptor.
Really? Esse é o cara, ele é o cara de produto. Ele mete as fichas dele na Interceptor. Então, desculpa, temos aqui um impasse. Por favor.
Acho que é um pouco mais difícil ainda. A Interceptor e a Continental já estão no mercado há uns 3 anos, na fora. Estados Unidos.
Ela foi lançada exatamente em novembro de 2018. Lá foi o Global Launch, lá na Califórnia.
Eu queria saber lá fora se tem algum movimento dos concorrentes das motos, que essa é a pergunta difícil.
Posso perguntar para os circulantes?
Sim. Se tem alguma estratégia, estão aplicando uma estratégia, um contra-ataque, ou estão se sentindo ameaçados.
Can you understand how? Sure. His answer is, these motorcycles were previously announced 2 years ago in EICMA, and in California we had global launches these motorcycles in November of 2018. As these motorcycles are already in the market, globally speaking, do you see any movement of the other brands, of the competitors, because we launched these motorcycles at this price as this configuration is. Could you see something in the market that recalls because of this launch?
Se ele sentiu alguma diferença, alguma movimentação das outras fábricas pelo fato de eles terem lançado essa moto com esse preço, com esse motor.
In terms of sales volume, the Interceptor, for example, in the UK is now the third best-selling motorcycle in the market. It's the best-selling naked, it's the best-selling retro. So have they taken sales from competitors? 110%. Have they been successful? Yes, very much so. Will we see competitors coming back with other products to compete with that? Yes, they will. I'm sure they will, but are we worried about that? Really? I think we've got a great proposition at a great price. Royal Enfield is in a unique position globally, I think, because of the scale that we get in India, the volumes that we get in India, and the fact that we're a global player. We're a unique business like that. So, to be honest, bring it on, I think.
Eu não sei quanto ao mercado, Guilherme, o que eu posso dizer sobre meus colegas, né? Eu já venho da indústria, 25 anos de 4 e 2 rodas, eu conheço todos, de todas as marcas. Eles vêm me falando, cara, vocês estão loucos, vocês estão loucos lançar peça por esse preço, né? Não, estamos loucos, a gente está posicionando para ser uma escada, para ser um degrau. O que eu sempre falo é que a nossa ideia não é competir, nem nas pistas, nem no mercado. A nossa ideia é trazer para o mercado uma opção, uma oportunidade para quem quer ser um upgrader. O Brasil sempre foi muito órfão de motocicletas entre 400, 350 a 750. Sempre. As marcas vinham e foram em todos os estilos, custom, classics. A Royal Enfield veio para ficar, porque ela aposta na média cilindrada de verdade. E a gente vai fazer a média cilindrada crescer, tenho certeza disso. E aí, por que não ser uma escadinha para outros que você pode estar pensando agora, né? Que podem, por não ser acessíveis para as pessoas nesse momento, as pessoas evoluem, a economia está melhorando, as pessoas vão ficar melhores, vão ter mais poder de compra. Vão para uma Royal Enfield, depois quiserem migrar para uma moto de 800, 1000 cilindradas, por que não? Então, o que a gente quer criar? A cultura do motociclismo para quem quer realmente dirigir uma motocicleta verdade, uma motocicleta de metal mesmo. E é para isso que nós estamos aqui. Se os outros vão se mexer, provavelmente sim, mas o que eu gostaria mesmo é de contribuir, é de trazer para o mercado a cultura que você me ajuda muito com tudo que você tem feito. Obrigado desde o início por estar junto com a gente na Royal. Respondi? Fala, João.
A questão é a seguinte, conforme o teu vídeo, o vídeo, nós temos elementos que fazem uma motocicleta ser café race. E eu estou vendo que não está vindo com a cordoba do banco. O final do banco. Isso vai ser acessório ou do mesmo jeito que tem aquele pequeno para-brisa, né? Esse acessório vai vir com a moto?
Yeah, so the single seat you saw in the video, that's an accessory, and that will be available with the motorcycle. We have a single seat version, we have a twin seat with a cowl, and we also have touring seat versions of the seats as well, so with a firmer, with a 3D mesh in the seat. So yes, is the answer. That's an accessory, and it will be available with the motorcycle.
Okay, thank you.
As well as the windshield, right?
Yes, so just to give you some, we got cut short a bit on the accessories. So we have available as accessories.
Ele falou que tem os acessórios.
We'll have a sub guard protector.
Protetor de motor, para-brisa, o banco.
Alternative set of handlebars for the Interceptor. We have bar end finishers.
Gente, amanhã já vou mostrar umas imagens do meu teste para vocês, fiquem ligados, tá? Ah, e eu vou ficar... Amanhã a gente vai descer para Paraty, depois de São José dos Campos para Paraty, depois da manhã a gente sobe de Paraty para São José dos Campos. E eu vou ficar com uma Interceptor durante uma semana a mais.
Vocês vão ver outras motos. Inclusive com isso que você está falando.
E aí, tudo que vocês quiserem saber, manda pergunta.
Esses novos funcionários, o que vocês estão oferecendo? Qual é a ideia de vendas, né, para o segmento do Rio Grande do Sul e Santa Catarina? Quanto vocês acham que vai entrar no mercado? E a outra coisa, uma coisa que é importante na hora da venda é ter a questão de financiamento. Vai ter alguma linha de crédito? Vocês estão fazendo alguma parceria com algum banco para poder colocar essas motos no mercado, já que você mesmo me disse que o mercado está melhor e as linhas de crédito também estão melhores? Tem alguma ação da Royal para ajudar os concessionários?
A verdade é que a questão de volumes, desde o início, desde 2017, né, quando eu há 3 anos e meio aqui na Royal Enfield, eu nunca falo muito sobre projeções, né? As pessoas sempre ficam, puxa, mas qual é a projeção? Para onde vocês querem chegar? Não é possível que vocês não saibam. Vocês viram aqui do Vinote, né? Hoje a gente está com 1% no mercado de 140 mil unidades, uma média cilindrada, que foi o que fechou 2019. 6.335 motos emplacadas. 213 só agora em dezembro, o que mostra que mesmo antes das twins a gente já vem numa crescente muito legal. O que eu posso dizer, se você puder até ver, a nossa estratégia é chegar a 5% da participação no mercado na média cilindrada. Então, boa pergunta, você gosta de falar?
Na média, 5% com a pequena, então.
A ideia é chegar
5% com a pequena.
5% no acumulado, acho muito difícil, porque eu acredito que a gente pontualmente consegue, por exemplo, no segundo semestre, já pensar em agosto, setembro, porque hoje assim, é interessante você falar em 5% na média cilindrada onde eu atuo. O Brasil é gigante, né? Para ter uma cobertura, eu precisaria nomear muitos concessionários, não é a nossa estratégia. Porque para e passo, estamos 2 anos com concessionário. Então, o que eu espero, nas áreas em que eu estou trabalhando, eu vou fazer direito. Né? Eu prefiro pegar alguns, trabalhar bem profundamente naquela área operacional, e aí eu já tenho hoje, sem as twins, em média 5% na média cilindrada. Com as twins eu vou conseguir chegar um pouco mais. Não querendo fugir da sua pergunta, para eu ter mais market share no mercado total do Brasil, eu tenho que nomear muito mais concessionários. E a minha parte, eu tenho um compromisso com a lucratividade deles também. Então, eu não posso abrir 5 concessionários em Porto Alegre, ou mesmo no estado do Rio Grande do Sul, simplesmente porque eu quero chegar a 5%. Eu vou ter 5 concessionários se matando. Então, assim, existe um compromisso entre volume, lucratividade e perenidade da marca. É uma coisa que eu já discuti muito com o Vinone. O que eu estou muito esperançoso, e vai depender também da homologação, porque não depende de mim, depende do governo, vai depender da produção, que eu estou pedindo, negociando para novos produtos chegarem quanto antes para cá. Se eu tiver esses novos produtos, eu já creio que no segundo semestre eu já consigo atingir pontualmente em cada mês 5% na média cilindrada. Pelos produtos que eu estou vislumbrando já no médio horizonte lançar. Essa é a primeira pergunta. A segunda pergunta é financiamento. Se você verificar hoje até nas concessionárias, você já vai ver que nós já temos um financiamento com o nosso parceiro, que é o Banco Alfa. O Banco Alfa faz parceria com a rede de concessionárias no atacado e para o Forplan, né? Mas também para nós no varejo. Então, por exemplo, hoje uma Himalaia você consegue comprar com R$ 2.999 de entrada, taxa zero, e você por 36,48 vezes de R$ 479. Ou seja, é uma condição extremamente viável, a gente não dá desconto, a gente acha que esse posicionamento já é um posicionamento muito legal, mas financiamento é algo que o cliente já pode, com certeza, contar. Se você hoje vê na linha Classic, na linha da Himalaia, você já vai perceber que isso aconteceu. Então, assim, financiamento faz parte da acessibilidade. Né? 80% das vendas das nossas motos são financiadas. Então, é realmente uma ferramenta importante.
So just before we go on to the next question, can I just answer SUZANE.TV?
Yes.
Yeah, so I just double checked, and it is the only change is a fuel filter, an aluminium fuel filter, and there's been a change to the map.
The map.
Fuel. There's no reduction in performance from the global spec, so that's the only changes to the model from the global spec.
Thank you very much.
Só para lembrar, né, a pergunta é o que foi mudado no motor para atender emissões de
Filtro e mapeamento de motor. Pronto, respondida a pergunta de quem me perguntou.
O aro da motocicleta é 18, né? Tanto na dianteira quanto na traseira, com as duas mãos. É um pneu exclusivo. Por que foi escolhida essa medida? E você vai ter outros pneus homologados, parece que é só a Pirelli que vai fornecer os pneus. Por que essa medida? E homologação de outros pneus, já que não é uma medida tão usual.
Yeah, so we chose an 18-inch. That's like what I'm saying.
No Salão das Rodas já foram vendidas 71 Interceptor e 29 Continental GT.
It's a very classic look, and we felt if we went to a 17-inch, which would be a much more
Ou seja, eles venderam 100 motos. dessas duas, né?
Have the right look and feel. It wouldn't feel like a classic motorcycle. That balance of the sort of the visual line you get that runs from the top of the wheels in relation to the bottom of the tank was really important. And so for us, it was just a no-brainer. We had to have 18s on it. It has meant that we've developed our own tyre, so we have exclusively worked with Pirelli to develop the tyre for this. We are also working with another tyre supplier today to provide a second option for consumers. But yeah, that's why we have 18-inch tyres on it. And you know, the tyres on this bike give fantastic grip. They give really good front-end confidence in cornering. You can be mid-corner, trail braking, you can tighten the turn.
Nosso amigo Thelma Mascarenhas perguntou sobre os pneus, porque esse pneu aro 18 e porque esse modelo exclusivo, por ser aro 18 que é da Pirelli. Ele respondeu que foi o que eles encontraram de equilíbrio, inclusive para frenagem, para estabilidade, enfim. Não sabemos se é exatamente isso, mas foi essa a resposta.
Tinha duas perguntas. Primeiro, em que medida que o controle de qualidade na montagem...
Roberto Dutra, do Rio de Janeiro, perguntando.
Ao controle de qualidade das Classics e Bullets, em que medida a gente pode esperar que essas motos não apresentarão os problemas ainda pontuais que as outras apresentaram aqui? E também queria saber se vocês não teriam um plano, ainda que médio e longo prazo, de montagem no Brasil, de forma que isso implicasse em preços ainda mais competitivos e, consequentemente, em volumes de venda superiores. Então, são duas questões, a controle de qualidade e montagem local.
Eu vou dividir em duas as respostas, então, uma em português e uma em inglês. Em português, eu sei about the plant. Com relação à planta no Brasil, vocês ouviram aqui o meu chefe master falar que sim, está vindo agora o nosso diretor de manufatura para vir fazer um assessment, para vir fazer um estudo, para já ter a aprovação, go ahead, para a gente ter a planta aqui no Brasil. Você tem toda a razão, reduz nossos custos, mas não reduz os nossos preços. Os nossos preços já foram pautados no mercado e não nos custos. Então, a Royal Enfield está vindo com um volume que é bem menor do que os 1 milhão de motocicletas que vendemos ao redor do mundo, né, principalmente na Índia. Nós temos 1000 motos aqui por ano. E nós não mexemos no preço, pelo contrário, se possível a gente vai reposicionar e mantê-los sempre bastante competitivos. Então, respondendo a sua pergunta, sim, nós precisamos ir para o Brasil para a gente ganhar a lucratividade que a gente precisa ter no ganho de escala. Eu ter 5% de mercado, não posso ficar perdendo dinheiro, eu preciso ter uma lucratividade local maior. Então,
é uma boa informação. A intenção é vir para o Brasil.
Mais volume, eu preciso ter produção no Brasil.
Não que os preços vão baixar, mas para aumentar a lucratividade deles, que é pequena.
Se você não se incomoda, a outra resposta eu prefiro que ele dê, porque ele, além de ser estratégia de produto, também cuida da parte industrial. Então, nada melhor do que ele para falar de processos e de manufatura. Mark, is yours.
Okay, so when we started the Twins project, we introduced for the first time a whole new process to design and develop. This coincided with the opening of the UK Tech Centre. We hired in a huge team. We now have 160 engineers in the UK Tech Centre. We hired a new head of engine design, a new head of chassis design. So there was a huge investment right from the beginning of the project in people and resource. And we changed the way that we design motorcycles. So we have, on the Twins, we had a process, an MPI process, as I described earlier, where right from the very beginning, the plan is to try and design and test motorcycles as early on in the process that are as close to being production ready as possible. So we have 3 stages. We talk about alpha build, beta build, and pilot build. At alpha build, we are trying to get as many components, again, as I mentioned earlier, off tool, so using production tooling as much as we can, off process, so using the processes that are going to be used to manufacture the components and assemble the motorcycles, and at conveyor line speed, so working at full rate, full run rate. And we try and do that, as I say, we do that at stages. So at alpha we build a handful of motorcycles, at beta we build a few more. So we go from a handful to a few hundred to a couple of thousand at pilot. the pilot lot bikes should be fully production representative. So at that point, we are testing motorcycles that are exactly the same as the consumer will get. We put in hundreds of hours of testing. We've rewritten what we call our DVP, which is our design validation process. So tests that happen on the component parts on the motorcycle throughout development. All of this means that if there are problems, if there are issues, if we have issues with fatigue fractures, for example, on a frame, we capture that much earlier in the process. We're able to implement mitigation strategies, redesign the part, retool for it, put it back into production. So these motorcycles have had a huge amount of design and development and testing, and not just testing of prototypes, but testing of what the consumer will get at the end. And it's meant that as a result, we've had these motorcycles now in international markets for a year and a half, maybe 2 years. And oh, you hate it when that happens. The fault frequency, we measure fault frequency so that we see how many warranty returns we get, how many issues we get. And it's been a paradigm shift, a complete step change for Royal Enfield in terms of quality. So I am fully confident these motorcycles are absolutely world class.
Eu não consigo abrir com uma mão só.
On top of that,
Você quer tomar isso aí?
the first time we worked
Eu tomo
with
essa
a
aqui, ó.
consultant used to work for Nissan, a gentleman called Fukusan, who introduced this SRK process that I talked about. I can't pronounce it in Japanese properly, but I'll try it again. But essentially, this is a process of it's a 200% check system. It's a massive manual of checks that happens in the first 3 to 6 months of production in order to make sure that you reach. So any new vehicle will have initially an incident of problems. You can't find all the problems in testing and development. There will always be some at the very, very beginning. So the idea is to reduce those to a steady rate as quickly as possible, and so an action team that can work against those problems as quickly as possible. So again, where we have had some minor issues, we've resolved them very quickly and made sure those customers are happy. So, we have increased our warranty. We've gone to a 3-year warranty with this motorcycle, and that reflects the confidence that we have in the quality of this product. And we believe this is a world-class product. If that answers the question or not. Okay.
Aproveitar que o Mark. Português, então. Eu acho que é um desafio para toda a indústria, né? Os motores elétricos que estão chegando em carros e motos. Para a Royal Enfield, eu acredito que seja um desafio ainda maior, porque ela tem que manter esse espírito mais clássico ou neoclássico, né? E eu queria saber se já começou alguma coisa, ou está nos planos, em que estágio estaria o desenvolvimento de uma moto elétrica Royal Enfield.
Okay, so obviously I can't talk about new products and development. I can't tell you what we're doing as a product plan going forward. What I can say is that I think you're absolutely right. I think it's not.
Perguntando se existe algum projeto de fazer uma moto elétrica. Ele falou que ele cuida dos projetos e não dos planos.
In terms of technology, in terms of cost, an electric vehicle of a similar performance is twice the cost of a petrol vehicle at the moment. The life of batteries is questionable at the moment. The second-hand resale.
Está falando é muita coisa para ser desenvolvido, a vida da bateria, a maneira de carregar, custo. Então que precisa de muito tempo para desenvolver.
And we are sure that it will come. But I can't tell you that we will have an electric vehicle by this date.
Legal.
Ok? Vamos jantar então ou não? Chega, tá bom?
Pessoal, não deixe de acompanhar. Eu amanhã... São 8 horas de teste. Amanhã eu vou andar em uma, depois da manhã em outra, amanhã um pouquinho cada uma. E depois farei mais 10 dias com o Interceptor.
Why do you keep the same technical specs in the two models?
Então, tudo que vocês quiserem saber, vou estraçalhar a moto.
see what you think of it and tell me if it needs more performance then. For me, I think it's performance-wise, for both bikes, it's in a great place. Why is one not different to the other? Because really, the idea was to create, one idea, one heart, if you like, and then two different characteristics. Why would this bike have less performance almost? It's a sporty roadster, it's fun. We want that to have exactly the same, engine characteristic, the same fun element to it. So really, it boils down to an ergonomic decision. It's a choice of how you ride. Personally, I prefer the GT. I love the GT because you get that little bit more weight over the front end. You can push the front side a little bit harder. The geometry is identical on both motorcycles. And the suspension components are the same, but on the GT we just clip the adjustment of the backup one so that it gives it a slightly more tilted forward bias, which means you get just that little bit more weight over the front end. You can do the same yourself with the Interceptor. But yeah, so I think the answer is that we didn't feel that we wanted to bias one over the other. So they are essentially, they're two characteristics, but they're both offering the same thing to the consumer in a slightly different flavour. Does that answer the question?
Bom, vamos jantar. A pedido do meu amigo Guilherme, o jantar vai ser aqui. Vai ser servido, na verdade, vai ser servido aqui. A ideia é que vocês subam, tomem um banho, relax. 8h30?
Tá aí, pessoal. Obrigada pela audiência. Quem acompanhou, acho que foi bem legal.
A gente vai trocar.
Vamos lá. Não dá tempo de eu dar uma corridinha, mas é isso aí. Até mais.